Well, greetings, Feed the Hunger friends. As you can see, we're doing a very unique webcast this month. It's our first ever outside webcast, and we are standing with you.
And we're together.
And we're together, that's right. And we are standing with you at our new headquarters at 1200 Lindsay Street in Greensboro, North Carolina. So we've expanded our base of operations about 20 miles west of where we were in Alamance County. And so, Joseph, what brought us here?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know. No. Halfway through the year last year, we thought we had found another property in Greensboro, and over a period of months, it just didn't work out. We weren't the winning bid on that property, and we just trusted that God had a bigger plan for us. And I actually found this property, I want to say it was 3 or 4 months before we took it seriously, because I took one look at the price tag and said, no way. It was just too scary. But one thing I'm guilty of occasionally is putting God in a box and, not thinking with eyes of faith. And so we revisited this property, came to realize how awesome it was, and prayed about it. The board collectively prayed and discussed, as well as the staff, and we just believe that God called us to take this step of faith. And so at the end of the year, the board voted, and unanimously we made an offer, and it was accepted. And just in the last week, we've moved to this property. To be in Greensboro, to be in a larger city, as much as we love Burlington and Alamance, and of course we still have office space in Burlington, it's just time to get to another location so that we can touch more lives. And this property, we believe, allows us to do that.
So why were we even looking in the first place? I mean, what were some of the characteristics or advantages that we were looking for in the next space that we were going to move to?
Yeah, there in Graham, where we've been located since 1979, we had maxed out the properties, both in quality and in literally the physical space on the property. There wasn't room for us to pack more food, to store more food, to ship more food. And so we just couldn't do things with excellence there anymore. And so, because the Lord has chosen to grow us, especially since the pandemic started, we just needed more space, more quality space in a larger city. And so thankfully, all of that was found just a really short distance from where we've been located all these years.
Yeah, so we're excited to show you the full property. And so come and join us inside, and we're going to show you the different components of what's inside. All right, well, we're so thankful to be inside and out of the glaring sun, and I'm sure you are glad to not see the glare off of our foreheads as the two bald guys are now standing in this beautiful and spacious warehouse. So, Joseph, what makes this a better warehouse compared to what we had in Graham?
Well, there's two really big upgrades that this space provides for us. One, as you can see, it is HVAC'd, so we really need temperature control for our ingredients and other supplies. And secondly, you can't see all of the warehouse space because there's a dividing wall, but we'll show you some more shots here. There's about 10,000 more temperature controlled space in this warehouse than our previous location. So that means way more raw materials and finished food can be temporarily stored here. And by temporarily, our goal is to get out the food as fast as possible. Really, the only reason why you see food behind us is because of all the snags we hit with customs, with shipping. It's just gotten worse since the pandemic started, working out all the logistics. So That's why you see food behind us. And we're also very, very busy right now. I think we just finished, how many events did we have in April? It was ridiculous.
We just finished a stretch of 18 events in 16 days.
And how many states would that have been in?
I don't know that, but at least
I think it was 8. I think it was 8.
Okay.
I think it was actually 8 states. So lots of comings and goings, and you'll see this building has a ton of cargo doors, full-size doors that an 18-wheeler can back into. We hope before long that we can actually dig out here the back of the building so that these 18-wheelers can just back right in and stop, and we can drive the forklift right on. As it is right now, we have our movable ramp that we had at our previous property where we can just back that into the truck and drive the forklift on. But that's one of the upgrades yet to come with the warehouse space. But it's just wonderful to have room, an air-conditioned room, to move and minister in this warehouse space.
Well, before we go look at another part of this beautiful property, we want to let you watch a brief video with one of our newer partnerships with YAPAC in Katy, Texas. And they actually have a thriving ministry at the border, the U.S.-Mexico border, where they're helping migrants that are coming across. And you know, it's a hot topic, obviously, but the reality is the people that are crossing the border are in great need, and they're hungry, and they need to hear the gospel. They need to hear the hope of Jesus Christ. And so YAPAC and Marcos is doing great work, and we're thrilled to show you this.
I'm here with our partner, Marco Ruiz, and Marco lives in Houston, Texas. And we have become connected with him and his ministry. He works for an organization called YAPAC, which is a ministry in Houston that you reach the community, helping those who are struggling, helping those who are in need, who are hurting and neglected. And you and the ministry that you work with, you all come along and help those people in Houston, which is just a wonderful, tremendous thing that you do in the Houston area. But we actually became connected with you through our packing events that we've had in Katy, Texas over the years. And we are storing a lot of our food there, but you have been using our food to go onto the U.S.-Mexico border to help those people who are suffering greatly. Marco, you know, we see on TV, we haven't been to the border, but we see on TV, we read of what's been going on there. And I know we don't get the full picture of what is actually taking place at the border. Could you share with us, please, a little bit about what you have seen at the border? What is going on there? Because just give us a clearer picture so that we have a better understanding.
Yeah, so my name is Marco Ruiz. I operate YAPAC Outreach Texas. It's a chapter breakoff from Tennessee. YAPAC Outreach Texas has been running for 1 year now, and we've been able to impact over 140,000 people. And it started with just the inner city community in Houston and the surrounding cities. We did outreaches in Schulenburg and Pearland and Pasadena and just different areas in Texas. And Powerhouse Church is our home church. It's our covering for YAPAC specifically. And that's how we got connected with Feed the Hunger. We began to store their food. And then we met a pastor in La Feria, Texas, which is pretty much Harlingen, Texas. And then he introduced us to Heart for Kids, which is on the Texas side and also in Mexico. The pastor in Mexico has just been commissioned. His name is Pastor Eleuterio Gonzalez. He was just commissioned by the Mexican government to render aid in the migrant crisis. And so we went to visit them in Mexico, in Matamoros specifically, and we went to do outreach. We went to serve people. So we took Feed the Hunger food. We took resources from YAPAC Texas specifically, like clothing, hygiene kits, wool blankets, socks, etc. Anything we had, we took it down there. And so we did that. We got over there and we began to do outreach. And so the need is great. We did 3 outreaches in about 5 hours max, and we served over 1,000 families.
Wow.
That's what we served Feed the Hunger food. Some of it was cooked and served. A lot of it was given out in packages with bottles of water so they could boil it and eat. So what's happening specifically with the pastor that we know between Powerhouse and Casa de Barraca is the home church there in Mexico. They are seeing migrants come to the border and not being able to cross. So a lot of people there are from Haiti, there's Russians, Ukrainians, there's
Wow.
uh, Middle Eastern people, there's Salvadorians, Venezuelans, Hondurans, Guatemalans, Colombians, and a lot of Mexicans from Mexico. But the migrants specifically are all those nationalities except for Mexico. A lot of Mexicans are not looking to cross because of the dangers of the issues of crossing right now. They have anywhere from 10 to 15,000 people always in um, transition.
Mhm.
And what the pastor is doing is trying to get them to a place where they get to the border. They've already been abused, tortured, raped. They've already been, ransomed, you name it. There's just so many stories that we heard and we're able to minister to. What he does is try to walk them through healing, deliverance, counsel, and get them to a place where they can apply for asylum or refugee status, and then they can get a work visa. The issue that's happening, what we see is that the borders are shut down. They're completely closed. They're not just letting people cross. We stopped at multiple checkpoints and they were just dry, dead. Nobody was crossing. This pastor with a network of churches on the Mexico side has implemented programs for these migrants, like trade schools, like getting their paperwork done correctly. The issue was that people would get asylum and they would cross in haste without a work visa. So
Mhm.
now you have someone who's been granted asylum, but they're not able to work. And so the pastor has kind of put in his foot down and said, hey, if you get asylum, we need you to hang back until we can get you a work visa, because there's no point of sending you over if there's not, if you don't have the ability to work. And so that's what he's implemented with the network of churches. So all these churches are supporting the shelters. So you have shelters that are built by people and that are being funded by people, and then you have shelters that are funded by the state, but they're overran, they're littered, they're really dirty, and it's just really bad.
This is
There's
on the Mexican side. You're talking
this is
about
all yeah, this
shelters.
is all Mexico.
Hmm.
Yeah, so the shelters in Mexico specifically they have coverings, and they're all these churches are their coverings.
Hmm.
And so that's what we've done as far as YAPAC and Powerhouse and Feed the Hunger, is just render aid with the perishables, non-perishables. Powerhouse Church supports them financially. And we just sent them a bus down there because they actually bus people from a church specifically that has 100 people to get 3 meals a day, because the church is the size of your living room. So, these churches out there are not big. They're 100 or 500 members. They're, under resourced.
Hmm.
And so that's who's supporting the migrants. That's who's feeding them. That's who's boots on the ground doing the work. And that's who we're supporting, is those churches. So a lot of these people that are crossing, their story is this: they're not wanting to be in America. They just cannot be in their hometown. They're not coming here because they want to take people's jobs. They're not coming here because they have loads of family waiting for them. That most of them are coming and don't know anybody. Most of the people we encountered are people that said, I was fired and blacklisted through the political circumstances in Venezuela and Colombia and Cuba. I'm running from the gang war and the political war in Haiti. I'm running from El Salvador and Guatemala and Honduras because they kidnapped my kids and they're holding them ransom. And they told me if I don't leave, that they're gonna kill my kids and me. And so that's why people are fleeing. By the time they get to Mexico, they have no money, they have no clothes, they have no food. There's no benefit of, you know, the people trying to take advantage of them. They don't have anything. And that's where these churches are stepping in when they're getting stuck in Mexico. And so that's what we're doing. We just started doing it. It's new, maybe 2 months. We've already sent a pallet of Feed the Hunger food. We served over 7,000 meals in the two trips we've gone. We went twice in March. I went on one of those specifically. Then my senior pastor, Pastor Robert Burdett, went on the second trip. Everything has to be aligned and strategically planned. But it's definitely good ground. I know that us storing the food in Yay Pack from Feed the Hunger has definitely helped us, because Feed the Hunger rice and beans, it not being cooked, packaged the way it is, it's actually been easier for us to get it across the border. It would be different if I showed up with a pallet of big bags of rice or whatever. They're really strict on food right now. The issue they've actually had, what they told us last time we went, was that a lot of ministries that are trying to render aid into Mexico are sending expired goods.
Oh,
So that's why they put in this hard halt on all the donations of food coming across the border, specifically because ministries are handing over their leftovers.
well, that's
And
a
we're not going to do that.
Mm.
That's what I love about Feed the Hunger and YAPAC. Even YAPAC, we don't give away used goods. Everything's new or tags on the clothes. We try to do the best we can with excellence and to serve the people down there.
Well, Marco, we're just so honored to be able to partner with you, that you were able to take the Feed the Hunger food boxes from Houston, Texas down into Mexico. What a joy it is for all those who packed in Katy area, in the Houston area, packed those foods. They were the last hands who touched that food packet that was sent to them over into Mexico and prepared for those who are desperate and hurting. And it's through partners like you who are on the front line of it, where we can't go, but you can go, but we can help provide the food. So, Marco, I just want to thank you so much. And Marco, what are some things? Can you give me just a couple of things of how we can be praying for you and this ministry across the border?
Just pray for provision, for the finances always being there, for the goods always being available, and for a strategy to get more stuff across the border to help those people.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And everyone who's listening to this, you've heard these prayer requests, you've heard the needs, I hope you have a better picture of what it looks like, of what's happening on the border and the ministries like Marco and others who are down there trying to reach and care for these hurting people and share the love of Christ. But thank you again, Marco. We are blessed by you. We're going to be praying for you. And I hope that Feed the Hunger will be able to provide for you much more food and even hygiene kits to help that you caring for those in need. God bless you, Marco, and thank you for your work.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Alrighty, so you just seen and watched Marco and Melinda and their interview, and now we have our dear friend and partner, Pastor Robert, and we want to hear more from you about how you undergird and support YAPAC and your church, Powerhouse Church, locally and internationally. So we'll start with the local impact first.
Yeah, so Powerhouse Church has been in Katy for 28 years this June. And YAPAC is something that we started to meet the needs of the community, mostly here in Katy and in Houston. And so we do food drives out of the church, food distribution. We work with a lot of people in Houston, in the rougher areas of Houston that need help and where there's food scarcity. And so that's kind of what we work with, anybody that's out there grassroots doing the work. So we try to identify those groups, those nonprofits, those other churches, and our heart is just to resource them to do kingdom work. And like I was sharing with you earlier, I feel like the church and the business world and the nonprofit parachurch ministries, I believe that's a big picture of the kingdom. And so as a church, I don't really need to be a food specialist because you guys are food specialists. And so I see it as a great partnership. And if you guys do what you do in your lane and I do what I do in my lane, and the business comes along and funds and helps and supports, then kingdom-wise, we can reach a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And currently in Mexico, on the border, there's a huge humanitarian crisis. Regardless of what your policy or politics are, there's thousands upon thousands of people that don't have anything to eat, that have been traumatized, that need help. And so that's another project that we've decided to help, and you guys have also helped us as we've been going in there. It's new, But I think that it's going to be a great partnership that we can do together.
Absolutely. Okay, so what is the connection between Powerhouse and YAPAC and what you all do in Mexico now?
So Powerhouse Church is a church here in Katy. YAPAC is a nonprofit. It's a chapter out of YAPAC Outreach, Tennessee. And we've just opened another chapter here, but really it's just an arm of Powerhouse. Powerhouse supports it financially and makes sure that it functions. YAPAC basically receives goods, whether it be clothing, hygiene, food. We receive it into a warehouse here in Katy, and then we redistribute that to people who need it, and also to nonprofits that are out there doing the work and distributing it. So the connection to Mexico is YAPAC provides all of the resources, Powerhouse provides the funding and the people to go do the trips and to distribute. And of course, we're working with partners on the ground on the Mexican side that are helping us distribute it and making sure that the food goes to the right people, the clothing goes to the right people.
Yep, absolutely. And it's been a tremendous blessing to be a part of that organization or that ministry in Mexico. But tell us briefly about how Feed the Hunger meals have gotten into Sri Lanka as well.
So I was on a trip to Sri Lanka, and I remember, I think I called you first, and I was like, hey, do you happen to have meals in Sri Lanka? And one of your people called us and said, we do. We have a warehouse in Sri Lanka. So we were able to connect with that pastor, that leader over there. And we picked up boxes and we started going into these house churches that we've planted in Hindu villages all over Sri Lanka. And it was really cool to show up in Sri Lanka, pick up boxes, and then realize that the boxes were packed in Katy.
At the Packathon that you all packed meals at.
At the Packathon. And so it was such a great story to show our church congregation, like, hey, what you did touched Sri Lanka, and that was not planned. So it was really nice to pick up the boxes and be like, we packed those.
This is pretty cool.
Yes.
God is pretty cool.
And we were able to just, I mean, I think we did a village of over 500 families, and it was just an incredible thing to see people receive that from a whole nother, with no strings attached, just food. We're here to bless you. And I thought it was great to just be the hands and feet of Jesus in that area.
Yep. And we are hoping for continued partnerships like that. Finally, what are 3 prayer requests that you might have?
I think we should pray for safety, especially overseas as the times accelerate. The Bible says that there will be perilous times. And I think that our hearts are there to meet the needs. I think we need divine protection over all of our teams, not just Powerhouse, but all the churches and all of the Christians that have, all the organizations that are going overseas, where maybe things are getting more hostile towards a Christian. We need to pray for divine protection. And we need to pray for resources, that God would move on the hearts of people that have the resources to loose them to do the kingdom work. And then we need to pray for a move of God.
Amen. Yes.
That when we're cracking the door open with food or with clothing, or we even just paying bills and funding it, that something supernatural would happen and people would encounter the love of God and change them forever. Yeah. That's what I'd say.
Thank you, Pastor Robert, personally and on behalf of Feed the Hunger, for taking the time to just do what you do and do this interview. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Regina, and what a great ministry that Pastor Marcos has going on right now.
Yeah, you know, the Lord has blessed us. We're not involved in every hot spot in the world, obviously, but if the Lord opens the door, we walk through it. So whether that be with the Ukraine war, with the Mexican border, with an earthquake or any other crisis, you know, it doesn't matter where you are, pro or con, you know, what side of the political aisle you're on, we still want to help people in the heart of that problem. And so, because that's what we believe God's called us to do. So thank you for allowing us to partner with people like Marco, both here in America and around the world.
That's right. That's right. And so behind us, as you can see, are some packing stations, and I dare say that this is probably the part of this facility that our staff was most excited to have. So why is that, Jim?
Yeah. I mean, you can look behind us, and this space is just dedicated for permanent packing. We spent a good bit of time, including Scott last year, researching automated packing.
Right.
Because it sure would be nice if we had machines in various times of, a time crunch or a crisis like the pandemic where we could have kept producing food with or without volunteers. And the reality is it's just a highly complex, highly expensive proposition. And we were never going to move away from volunteers packing the food, hear me clearly, but it was just a both-and proposition that we were trying to achieve. So we've yet to find a way through that to do automated as well as volunteer-led, because last year, good gracious, I think we had almost 40,000 volunteers pack with us.
Right.
And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be in front of that many people to share the mission and vision with. So this space can actually house up to 12 permanent stations, and honestly, it could do more, because as you see more video of this place, it's just wide open. This facility is overall is, I think, 2.5 times the size of our Graham headquarters. And this is what was missing in Graham, is we did not have dedicated space that was temperature controlled where people could come and pack. And so now that we're in Greensboro, this much larger city with many more churches, businesses, and schools, this is a great place to introduce them to packing without us having to come to them yet. We love it when they host it on their properties, because that brings people to them and it furthers their ministry.
Right.
But we have the ability to host groups of all sizes here. We have a couple of stations set up, because isn't there packing going on here?
Soon, yes.
Like a couple of businesses.
A couple businesses.
Yeah. So it's great that it's already happening, because we really haven't promoted this yet here. And we're still going to continue to have our community events in Burlington as well. But to have these open windows so Greensboro can, feel welcome and come on in, and really the surrounding area. We just think people will come from all around to pack here.
That's right. And as Joseph mentioned, we're still always going to be willing to travel to churches or businesses or schools because of the ministry that's able to take place on their campus or on their place of business, their facility. But we do have plans to welcome the community here later this summer. Joseph, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. We are going to host an open house and a pack-a-thon in September. We'll talk more about it as we now transition to look at the office space.
All right, so welcome to the final spot of our facility, and that's the office space. And
very undecorated.
Very undecorated. Again, we just moved in literally this week, so we're still unpacking boxes. We're still hanging stuff up on the walls and getting furniture situated in its final spot. But we're excited to be here and have this office space. We've had a growing staff. I mean, thanks to your partnership, thanks to your prayers, we've been growing. God's been giving us more. And so with the more responsibility and more resources, there's more people here to steward those resources and manage those, manage the help that we're able to send around the world. And so this space has enough office space for our existing staff. It even has plenty of room for us to grow down the road, if that be God's will, which we think it is. And so it's a lot cleaner than what our other space is. It's just exciting for us to be in this spot.
Yeah, just a decade ago, we had 8 staffs. And you might be surprised to know we now have 25 staff currently working out of 4 states. That's about half part-time contracted and half full-time, including 5 in Texas. It's 4.
Yes,
5 in Texas, where we're really trying to grow, where we have warehouse space just outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But the pandemic really broke the mold on how we do ministry. We were all working from home for a while there. All of the staff is still working a hybrid schedule, because really at the end of the day, it's just about getting the work in the ministry done no matter where we are. And so as long as we can do that effectively, we don't all have to be here every day. Now, every Monday, all staff are here together that are within driving distance, and then the rest Zoom in, and so that we can have that time together as a staff. But we're currently greeting you from the conference room that is going to be a great space to have. There's a lot of other space, as Scott mentioned. There's wide open space we don't even know what to do with yet. It's a good problem to have. It's wonderful that it's all air conditioned and heated. We can hold special functions here, one of which we want to mention again is September 4 through 7 of this year, 2024. We're doing an open house and packathon. We want to bring in a bunch of people from this community, a bunch of people from Burlington. We certainly haven't, we won't ever forget them and be appreciative of all the decades of ministry there. But that's going to be a great time to be here, to get a tour. It'll be fully decorated by then, but you don't have to wait until then either. Heck, just let us know if you want to come see it. We'll make sure that one of the staff will give you a tour because we are so blessed to be here. It's a very daunting thing to be here. It's been an emotional roller coaster for me after having our family, been in Alamance County and Burlington since the beginning, since 1968. But, one of the things I mentioned earlier about, putting God in a box and not walking by faith. This is true for every Christian. God calls us to walk by faith every day, but there's a handful of moments in your whole life that's an extra leap of faith. And those are never comfortable. Walking by faith is not meant to be comfortable because, you're walking by faith, not by sight. And so this is one of those moments for me personally. This is one of those moments for the staff and for the board, the ministry as a whole, is to move here and be in this great space.
That's true. And so, we thank you for being along with us on this journey and helping to get to this place this far. And so we're excited by that and what God's doing. Changing gears, changing topics just a little bit. One of the things we're excited to announce as well and roll out beginning later this month is our new food bags for our packing units. And so these have been in the works. We've been reluctant to switch to printing the labels and onto the bags directly because we were committed to making sure the Packathon is something that everybody can do for all ages, all ability levels.
Right.
And so there are so many people through the years that have packed with us that they continue to show up over and over again because they know they can make a meaningful difference by putting the nutrition labels on each and every bag. And so that's going to continue, but in a slightly different way. So we'll continue to have that opportunity for those of you that are used to doing that and take pleasure in that, and it's still very important. But our bag is printed on the front and the back, and we're one of the reasons we went to this, obviously, is just to make it look better and appear better.
Yeah, we want people, the recipients, to believe they're getting a quality product, and part of that comes with quality packaging. It works that way the whole world. That's what marketing is right? We want them to want this meal and be proud of receiving it. And so this is a big step in looking the way we believe it tastes. And so we're excited to finally debut this summer, as well as the oatmeal packet should be ready to roll out going into this fall. So by the time you come to the open house and packathon, you'll see that meal packet as well.
That's right. And so if you're wondering, okay, well, it looks really, it does look professional. It does look nice. And so what am I going to do if I show up? So on the bottom corner of every bag, we have a best used by, a spot for a best used by date. And that's still very important too. It matters to all of the countries from a customs standpoint that we send this to. And so because that changes from time to time, we're going to have this opportunity where it'll be a much smaller sticker, easier to handle, and you'll be, the ones that join us at the packing event to do labels will be putting on the best used by label. So there's still that opportunity, and we're just excited to be moving in this direction and really think that that
a long time coming.
It's a long time.
I'm glad it's finally here,
and it's just another level of excellence that we're growing into. So. Well, very good. Well, Joseph, is there anything else we need?
Yeah, I would close by talking again about God bringing us here. We've called, it took a lot of funding to get here. We sold the previous property and we're able to put that down as a down payment on the loan, the mortgage for this property, which was a quarter of the loan, which we were just thrilled to do. And that was one of the reasons why I was scared to even bring this to the board, because we've never had to raise this kind of funding before. I certainly haven't. And so that number is kind of daunting. But really, when it all boils down to why we did this, and that's why we called this campaign Expand the Outreach, is because God has been positioning us for more ministry. And in order to do more ministry, we had to be in a place that would enable us to do that with excellence. The need has only gotten bigger. All of our partners are asking for food that we can't give them the quantity they're asking for. We have partnerships that can literally take the food every single month, can take a shipment every single month. We have new partnerships that want it more than what we're giving them. After we've given them their first container, they're like, all right, what's next? So the point is, and the food, as you know, is just the door cracker. The reality is that it's all about the gospel. And to make sure we're focused on that this year, we are trying to raise, I guess, the equivalent of one Bible for every box of food that we pack this year. So what that would translate into goal-wise for 2024 is 28,000 Bibles would be given out this year, which is about 10,000 more than last year. So it's a big goal, but it keeps us focused on what's most important.
That's right.
Is the spiritual hunger and the physical hunger being met at the same time. Extending people's lives, changing them for eternity through knowledge of Jesus Christ. And so that's why we're moving. So we would love to share with you more about Expand the Outreach and how you can participate. We would love to get this paid off really quick so that we can then focus our full efforts on the ministry. So we know that God knows that, and we know that you know that, and so we're doing all the normal things you would do to raise this kind of money, but the reality is that this is all about what does God want to do, because he's given us signs. Someone has already graciously made a large pledge to be fulfilled this summer, kind of as a first fruits, believing that God's going to provide the rest in his time, so that we can, in this crazy day and age, focus on the needs at hand, because they're just only getting bigger. And we're just so grateful for your prayers and support during this crucial time of transition into this new era where God is just doing more and more for his glory and through your partnership. So thank you so much.
That's right. It's a privilege to introduce our new headquarters to you. And so thank you for watching. Thank you for your prayers and your giving and your partnership. And God's doing a lot of amazing things. He's changing lives for eternity. He's using your gifts and your prayers to do that. And so we're thankful for you and look forward to joining you next time, where we'll be back to more of a traditional webcast that you're used to.
So see you soon, maybe in September, maybe sooner.
That's right.
Come to the open house.